Hello and welcome back. In the last lesson, we went over this example where I gave you an equation and we figured out how to, first of all, graph the equation to form a line. And then we went over two terms, slope and y-intercept. So we talked about how y-intercept is the point at which the line intercepts the y-axis. So in this case, that point was y is equal to 1. Therefore, the y-intercept was 1. And we also talked about how slope is based on rise of a run. So if we compare 2 points on the line, for example, the point at the far left and the point in the middle, we'll see that if we draw a triangle from the first point to the next point, the rise is 4 because y increases by 4, and the run is 2 because x increases by 2. So now what we're going to do is go over the general equation of a line. And this general equation is called the point-slope form. So the general equation is y is equal to mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So for example, if I gave you the equation y is equal to 3x minus 5, we would know that m is equal to 3, and therefore the slope is equal to 3. We would also know that b is equal to negative 5, and therefore the y-intercept is negative 5. So m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. We also can have the equation y is equal to negative 2x plus 8. In this case, m is equal to negative 2, and the slope is therefore also equal to negative 2, and b is equal to 8, and therefore the y-intercept is also equal to 8. What we're going to do now is take the equation y is equal to x minus 2 and graph the equation without necessarily trying to plot points, but instead using the concepts of slope and y-intercept. So we would look at this equation, notice that b is negative 2, and that therefore the y-intercept is negative 2. So we could look at our graph, look at the y-axis, and mark down negative 2. Now notice that we normally actually write the y-intercept as a point. And we know that for any point along the y-axis x is 0, so we would always have 0 and then the b value. So in this case, the coordinate for the y-intercept would be 0, negative 2. Now, in terms of the slope, there is no number in front of the x, but technically there is. We're just multiplying it by 1. So if you don't see any number in front of the x, you can pretend that there is a 1 and write that as y is equal to 1x minus 2. In that case, we know that m is 1 and therefore the slope is 1. So whenever we have the slope as a whole number, it is very useful to write that out as a fraction, because we know that slope is given by rise of a run. So if we could write this out as a fraction, we could find the rise and find the run. And if you're ever given a whole number, you can just rewrite it as that whole number divided by 1. So in this case, we could write 1 as 1 divided by 1, because that's still 1. And then from there, we would be able to tell that the rise is 1, and that the run is also 1. And then we can look at our graph and sketch the triangle. And we would sketch it in this sense because we know that if the rise is 1, y increases by 1, and if the run is 1, x increases by 1. We could draw the corresponding point and then connect the points to form our line. So that's all I wanted to go over for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll go over more cases of slopes and more examples that you're likely to deal with when looking at linear equations. But for now, thanks for watching.